All right. So, on today's discussion, we're going to just let it all out there. Hi, man.
Fireside chat, isn't that what they call it?
Fireside chat. Yeah, there you go.
It sounds a little homosexual to us.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, it's just that's not us, dude.
This
This is definitely strictly, you know, I don't know. I guess another word is just we're kind of like regrouping our thoughts, our experiences,
yeah,
our sentiment.
yeah.
Our
That's
own
that's a good
personal
way. That's a
sentiment.
good way to put it. So it's this
It's
one's
kind of like what we used to do all the time, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how many of you OG listeners or watchers, viewers, whatever you want to call yourselves,
yeah,
viewers of the tube, how Chico likes to say it.
yeah,
How many of y'all are still lingering and watching our videos from like back in the day when we first started, in Decentraland,
like
like like a year ago, right?
yeah,
More
about a
than a
year ago.
year ago now. Oh no, about a year ago, whatever.
Yeah, so if you're watching this right now on YouTube, just drop a comment. Let us know if you've been listening since summer of 2019. That's
That's right.
that's when we started talking about Decentraland. Like,
That's when we first found out about it. And then we invited Maddie to our show. He kind of like elaborated on the potential. And I think, yeah, this was before there was an actual like launched uh, game verse.
yeah,
It was still like in pre-release phase, so we didn't understand it back then. But now we're a year into it, and we've been through a lot, man. Like we started literally like as organic as it can be started. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And it kind of snowballed. We had some really ups and downs, and we're at a point now where we're kind of like on our last, you know, strings. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Holding us upright. Like,
yeah. The ship has holes.
yeah,
Well, I don't want to say it has holes, but it's like trying to fly a plane in midair, like trying to build a plane in midair.
yeah. And we've always made it like a point to like be as transparent as we can be about everything. Like everything we've thought of, including MetaZone, all the little mini games we created. It's all been cataloged, whatever,
Yeah,
on this podcast. So we've
chronicled.
chronicled. Yeah, we've celebrated the good moments, like the
Yeah.
first time we breached 1,000,000 mana. We were super happy about that.
No, I think we popped the bottle when we sold the one meta. I think, right? Was it?
I Either that or when we got fifth place in the game jam, something
Yeah.
like that. One of those events.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. When you sold our first meta, I was like so like mind blown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
because like we didn't know if this would work or not. If people were really interested in purchasing digital content for their land, we were just proposing these things, and it turned out a lot of people did. And I don't know, with that came a lot of excitement, and that's what I'm saying. That's kind of like how it snowballed. It's just one purchase after another is just like more reinforcement. So that's what got us to this point. But
Yeah.
now, obviously, there's been a huge slowdown. I think we have to discuss what these possible factors are amongst ourselves, which we've been doing. Uh, I don't know.
Yeah. No,
After that,
you know, going back to the Twitter comments that we're seeing. So apparently we're part of a cartel.
oh, okay, we're hopping into the wearables thing now.
Well, yeah. I
Do
mean,
we have this on screen right now? The wearables initiative?
yeah.
Yeah, we do, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see it? I'm sharing it right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what's happening today. Like today is the first like DAO vote for like the community to vote on, right? Like this wearables round two, basically.
And the history of wearables has been contentious since, like, as far as I can remember.
Oh
The
yeah,
the debate
always.
has always been, should there be licenses, should there not be licenses, should the
Yeah.
community make them, or only Decentraland?
Yeah.
And so we've had a fashion show where we had 5 creators make wearables, and it was, I would say, successful. I mean, it's hard to measure what success really means in this space other than like selling out your wearables. So I didn't really look into it. I'm sure those that were on sale were sold out, and it was just like any other wearable. So now in Decentraland's Wearable Stage 2, they are allowing the community to propose pretty much any wearable that you can think of.
Hmm.
And there's been 26 or so submissions, and only 10 of them will get licenses. And the top 10 from voting would actually get one of these licenses. And this license consists of 100 mints of 6 wearables of your style. And so we submit our own, and our wearable is predicated on its application in a video game we're also building called Corona Zombies. And so we
Hmm.
submitted it, and today, September 2nd, is the day the votes start coming in. So, and there's 3 days left.
Yeah, it's been about, I'd say about 5 hours since this, maybe 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours since the voting began, and there was like a nice little acceleration at the beginning when Decentraland posted on Twitter that voting has begun, and you expect like a nice little rush of votes, right? So that's what we saw. So like over the last couple hours, we've seen like 2 or 3 votes trickle in. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's safe to assume like we've reached like a, let's see, but that's not exactly true. I was gonna correlate this to like a traditional election, like United States presidential election. Usually when you go down each state and you start tallying the votes, you could usually call the result of a vote like around the 5-10% range. Once 5 to 10% of the votes have been tallied, it's pretty safe to assume like once 100% are tallied, the outcome is going to be pretty much what's being represented in that first 5-10%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I'm looking at this. Like I feel like for sure, at minimum, this is like 5 to 10% of the votes that we're probably going to see. So far, we've seen 56 because the community is really not that big. It's probably like
Hundreds of people.
hundreds, maybe 200 to 300 of active community members like that actually check back in regularly, like
Yeah,
at least once a week. You know,
man. I mean,
so this is,
that statement has a lot of implications.
it does, and which we have to talk about too because we have some personal experience of that we need to get into just to kind of like, for those of you listening, you need to understand like our perspective of things and like what, I don't know, like how we evaluate our time investment into this project. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's hard for me to say, but
On top of this, we're conflicted too in the sense that we're seeing these scam projects do 1,000x,
that's true.
and all they do is take people's money, and
Yeah.
that's their entire existence, and people are just dumping cash into it, like $100 million worth of cash, like 200, $500 million worth of cash.
Hmm.
And I mean, and it's all because people speculate that they can make money. That's why people jump in. That's the only reason. That's how
Yeah,
the whole world moves.
I agree.
And so we've taken that idea and we've applied that to Decentraland, and we figured that landowners would also like to make money off of their land. Hence, we created MetaZone. And the content that MetaZone, or in this case Corv, really makes is content that generates revenue for the landowner. We haven't made anything else. We don't make flowers. We don't make trees. We don't make buildings. None of that. It's
But for those of you that do build that, it's perfectly fine because there are people who
yeah. That's not what
are
I'm.
okay with that.
That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is we believe to it to a certain extent that that's all that we're building. That's the
Yeah.
only stuff that we build. As a creator ourselves, as a team, that is what we're focusing on because that's what we believe in.
Hmm.
And Ethermon also believes in that. That's why they've decided to work with us and make content that allows the landowner to generate some revenue. So when I said in the past, like just a few minutes ago, on your statement having a lot of implications, if we have 200, 300 active people in Decentraland, does this hold any merit on building anything worth of substance in such a size
Hmm.
of activity? Like, does
Yeah.
it make sense? And most people, almost everybody would say, no, it makes no sense.
Yeah, you as a project developer, if you have an idea for a project to build into Decentraland, you have to weigh out this cost benefit analysis.
That's
Like
right.
you have to say you're a district owner, and not even you're in a state, you own a 3x3, and you're trying to think of like how do I build something that's going to attract people and one day generate me revenue. You're going to have to factor in the cost of all that 3D modeling, the cost of all that developer work.
Mm-hmm.
That all that is not cheap. And then you have to think about, okay, is it worth to invest all this money to build something for a potential demographic of 200 to 300 people currently? I mean, it's fine if you speculate on that investment and you're thinking like way into the future that for some reason there's going to be some kind of onboarding event where people are going to just rush into Decentraland. I don't know. I don't think that's
I don't think that's a high probable situation.
yeah. Well, at least definitely not based on like one creation. Like
Yeah.
it's something bigger than that has to happen in order for actual genuine players to come online. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like, dude, we've been talking about this for so long.
Yeah.
Like since we first started building into Decentraland, that's all we've talked about. Because to us, it's obvious, man.
Yeah. I totally agree. And so there's actually a whole lot to talk about. So we're going to try to manage this conversation in a way that sort of starts illustrating our point, and the points that we've been talking about since the beginning. That we've been involved in Decentraland. And like, for example, when we talk about the game jam, like we've always said that game jam should be focused on replayability. And let's just see real quick. I don't know if they've mentioned it here. No, they didn't. And so I remember reading some aspect to a game jam that focused on replayability. I don't know if it was this one.
How would you gauge replayability though? It would have to be some like time
No, I mean,
rec.
you interact with some button, and that button is tied to like a dashboard of interactions, and then you just measure interactions for all the games, all the stuff that's created.
So that's interactivity then, right? Not replayability.
Yeah, but
Because
replayability is interactivity by the same person,
okay,
right? So
yeah,
it's sort of almost the same thing. It's just if you play once and you never come back, then you get a lower score, right? But if you have people always coming back and playing,
yeah.
then
That's over what time span though? Because people
over
could play
over
it for
the
like a week,
over the 2 weeks that it's
2 weeks.
it's running. I mean,
Yeah, I guess
um,
that's a good judgment. Yeah, but that's not what's being factored in, right? That's what you're saying.
yeah,
It's
it's
the
not
same
being.
model as the last time. I think there's like a panel of judges.
Yeah, and the first prize here is 25,000 mana, which is roughly $2,500,
Mm-hmm.
and we're thinking about the the time investment for the developer who's spending time for this game jam. Like, we don't know if this makes sense for a developer to spend any time competing with others for $2,500. And then on top of that, any submission is basically owned by Decentraland for open source projects that others can leverage, which is fine, but I don't know if it makes sense from the developer standpoint. A developer comes to Decentraland, they see this game jam, oh, I can win $2,500, easy. But
Mm-hmm.
that thing that you create is no longer yours, and then there's a chance you won't even place.
Mm-hmm.
So and then comes in meta zones like, oh, if I build something, I can just sell it. And for example, one of Core's games, Corona Zombies, it was just sold recently for 27,000 mana. Just and it goes practically directly to Corv.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes more sense for a developer to spend time speculating. If they're going to speculate into Decentraland, you speculate by submitting stuff into MetaZone because it directly benefits the developer.
Yeah,
And this isn't a good enough incentive for developers to get involved, in my opinion. And
yeah,
I don't think much of anything again is going to yield from this game jam.
yeah. I think we're gonna see like an obvious uh, because I think from the first game jam, the prize pool was way bigger if I remember correctly. Right? I think we
It was
placed
like
fifth or something.
250,000 mana was the
It's
first
first place. I
place.
think that was roughly like $10,000 or something, right? Maybe even more, like 15,000.
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
something
It
like
was a
that.
pretty nice. It was a dude. That's a nice incentive right there. Like, and it worked. It was a pretty successful game jam. I think that's
Well, it
what.
depends on how you measure success. Success in the sense that yeah, you had a ton of submissions. Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
so. But out of all those submissions, who is replaying anything from that game jam?
yeah, yeah. I don't know if that's their goal or not. Like, it never really.
See, and that's really the foundation of the issue.
Yeah.
How is it not Decentraland's goal? How is that not possible? Why create content that nobody touches ever again?
Mm-hmm.
Why reward creations that nobody ever touches again?
Mm-hmm. I guess they roll these out like to showcase like big new like SDK features basically. So it's like a showcase event, right? To like
Yeah,
the technical possibilities that are out there. So I understand from that angle, but you're right in the sense that they're not addressing like the root issue of what we're talking about. Like if we want like a sustainable, healthy developer ecosystem, like it's not sustainable just to keep running game jams over and over and over and over again, right?
yeah. I
Like,
mean, because ultimately, what's the goal? It's like, what is the long term goal of running these game jams?
well, yeah, I guess just like like they did the first time, it's the content of the eventual like chest event that's going to follow after. I guess I'm assuming that's. I mean, I've heard that's what's coming next is a new like chest, exploration event. So what that's going to do is the same thing it did last time. It's probably going to it'll be a nice little marketing event to onboard maybe a couple hundred new users this time around. Hopefully, like the servers are a little more capable than they were the first time around. So it should, be a little bit better showcase overall, a little bit of a better experience. So I guess they're hoping like it can be a little more sticky, like people will stick around for that. But yeah, ultimately these games are not going to be some type of
Like
sustainable.
RPG or
Yeah, it's not
something
like
something
something.
replayable.
Yeah, but so far we haven't cracked that code, dude. Like how to see,
Well,
and
I
then the
so
results of. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say cracking the code. It's difficult, and I mean it's not an easy thing to crack. First of all, then on top of that, the barrier to entry to crack that code is so expensive. It requires developers, 3D models, animations, a back end. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You are tapping into a developer community that requires a lot of resources. There's a reason why a game like GTA 5 costs $400 or $500 million to make,
Mm,
right? And that's including marketing. And it's $1 billion game, right? They 2x their investment by doing
mm.
that, by doing a game like that.
Is that really how much it costs to make?
Yeah, a couple $100 million to make, and then like double that for marketing.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
So, and
So
then
the point is,
to make games in Decentraland with the limitations of a parcel or several parcels string together, I mean, it's not simple. I mean, it's the barrier to entry is just too high of a barrier to really get developers involved at a mass scale, unless you can sell that content directly to landowners,
mm,
and therefore the developers have a narrow focus as to building things that landowners want versus just a generic game jam for an outcome that's unsustainable. Like how many more game jams is going to yield thousands of players in Decentraland?
yeah. No, I think I'm gonna make my prediction now. It's just gonna be a repeat. Like it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be a nice marketing event. People are gonna get a little hype for it. It might generate like a week this is including like whatever event they decide to launch that incorporates these game jam entries, because apparently, yeah, this becomes Decentraland's content at the end of the day. They own the rights to it. That's like a solid week of like semi high DAU numbers, like maybe like in the thousands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, I think after a week, those numbers will taper off just like they did last time. And we're going to have another 2-3 months of uncertainty following, like right now we're asking that question, but I think a lot more people will ask that question just like they did last time. Like, we're spinning our wheels here, boys and girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, the reason why we bring this up and it's so important to us is because we've been working our ass off for like a solid 8 months now, trying to build the MetaZone platform and to keep building games and content for Decentraland, to where we're trying to raise funding to continue and like expand our, what do you
Yeah.
call it, a runway?
Yeah. This is a good segue.
Yeah, we're trying to expand our runway because we're people too. Like, we've up until this point, we've been 100% self-funded off of the activities of MetaZone,
That's right.
right? But like I said, that is pretty much grinding to a halt for a variety of reasons. Probably mainly like gas prices and
Yeah.
cryptocurrency, like cryptos in general. Like the ERC market is re-emerging again as like the hot asset.
Yeah, for sure.
So people are like less willing to spend their crypto for
For potential
speculative.
gains for moonshots.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's where all the activity is currently. So it puts like NFT projects like us, like
The back burner.
in a difficult position. So
Yeah.
we've tried to reach out and do like the traditional thing, right? We try to find like traditional funding sources, venture capitalists, whatever you want to call them, to kind of like gauge their interest in what we're doing and what Decentraland's doing, whether or not it makes sense to invest in a project like this. And
Yeah, and these people we've contacted, they quote unquote invest in metaverse projects.
exactly. So that's why we thought we had a good shot, right? When you're analyzing metaverse projects, I don't think there's many out there that are actually generating any kind of revenue, other than the platforms themselves, right? Obviously, but those
Yeah,
are
like
already funded. They,
yeah,
they,
like
they
selling land.
exactly. We're not doing that. Like, these VCs are supposed to be looking for projects that are working to enhance those already existing metaverses, right? Like
Right.
that's literally in their tagline description. So if you can, we'll like kind of like explain what the
So
feedback has been so far.
so essentially, um, I guess to put it in short words, they don't have any confidence in these metaverses taking off like relatively soon.
Yeah.
And if the metaverse doesn't have like hundreds of thousands of players, and there's no incentive for an investor to go in and invest in anything metaverse related.
Yeah.
And there aren't hundreds of thousands of users in any of the metaverses. It's not even close. I mean, we're talking about 1,000 maybe in each of the metaverses, maybe.
Yeah.
And so,
At peak.
yeah, at peak, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so there aren't any investors interested in this space, at least not yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we're trying. We've since the beginning of Decentraland, since we got in, we're trying to figure out how to increase that DAU. Like, what are the things that are going to bring people in and have them stay in, so that we create an economy and we encourage investors to jump in, and not landowners who are buying 50 parcels for 30 grand. Those aren't investors. They're not adding any value to the ecosystem, really, right? They're not,
Mm-hmm.
so that doesn't really count.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it from an outsider's perspective, if there aren't interest from actual investors, then there's not going to be interest from retail people, right?
Yeah. Then nothing gets built,
And then nothing
essentially.
gets built.
If everybody's depending on like this traditional funding model, which has funded technology up until this point, right? But that's why, so because of this realization, us ourselves, it's not like really fully announced yet, but like part of our plan, like we've always operated like this. Like we find problems and we try and fix them.
Yeah.
You know, like that's literally how MetaZone came about. We found a problem, why we think people aren't building anything, why there's just like landowners and there's no activity. Because there's like a disconnect between like the developers and the landowners.
That's right.
So that's where MetaZone fills that gap. Now we're kind of identifying a new problem. There's a disconnect between like funding and developers now. So we're now like our interest and
Oh
our
yes.
focus
Another
is
good
on like,
segue.
yeah, our focus now is like how do we help to kickstart like an actual like potential for people with legitimate projects in mind, you know, to execute, like because we've already established that there's no way in hell they're ever going to get funding from like a traditional source, right?
That's right.
It's not going to happen. If it didn't happen for us, it's not going to happen for anybody else.
Yes, I totally
Like
agree.
I think I can make that pretty firm
And if you
statement.
disagree, I invite you to the podcast and then let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I would like to know if there's like people out there that are getting like investments like under the table that nobody's aware of and they're building in
Yeah.
Decentraland. You know, like I would like to know, and please hook us up with your contact. We'd like to have a meeting with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is an incredibly important subject. I think a lot of people don't want to talk about. For one, the majority of people aren't building, you know, anything, so it's not of interest to them. The majority of people are just speculators, right? So
Yeah. How do you create an economy with a bunch of speculators?
I don't know, dude.
You can't. I mean, you can leverage the speculation engine by doing what we're planning on doing with MetaZone is allowing for initial meta offerings.
Yeah, that's
So
just what we call it.
yeah, so initial IMOs will allow a creator to potentially raise funds to build their project out in the metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
And in this project, it may not necessarily be within Decentraland. It could be on a completely separate platform. It could be on a game that you create using the Unreal Engine if you want, right? And so it's a bigger space to be in, but it's a space that has, tons more active people and a space that also needs like funding as well, especially,
Yeah,
blockchain focused games.
yeah. What you just described, like whatever project that is, it's using Unreal Engine. We're calling those verses, or like a verse. It's short for like universe. It's a game universe essentially. It's just another word for a game, but with a blockchain as the premise of the foundation of it. So we want there's going to be that ecosystem where a game developer can
Design a game,
and already have like the well,
the
it's
assets.
there's going to be a varying degree. I'm sure we don't know for sure because it hasn't been implemented yet. There's going to be a varying degree to like project proposals as far as like how far they are conceptually or like actually developed, like their game assets are or their metas. Like I could foresee a project like just like how there's crypto projects all over the crypto landscape where they have
Right.
like a white paper and that's it, and they have like a nice vision painted out, but that's enough to raise funding for them to at least attempt to execute on their vision. So in the MetaZone equivalent of that is like it's a meta zone verse project that has a proposed game ecosystem with like all the metas, conceptualized. And when I say metas, it's like for Corona Zombies, we have probably what, like 8 to 10 metas.
Mm-hmm.
We have a meta that is specifically designed to generate like a player consumables. I think we call it like the synthesizer or something like that. That is a meta. If you are a meta investor, you could take ownership of one of them and you can place them on your land for Corona Zombie players to interact with, to purchase consumables, and eventually you getting a cut of that transaction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that aligns with our goal of building like this full circle economy. Like the landowners are being compensated for their contribution. The meta creator is being compensated for creating the meta, and the player has like a new portal, a new gateway to like an actual game economy
Yeah.
to where if they spend their time playing this game, they can monetize their experience. You know, that's the full circle that we're trying to create. So how are we going to achieve that with the actual Launchpad platform? Like I said, we haven't announced it yet because we're still trying to figure out like the best like tokenomics route to go through, whether or not there needs to be tokens involved, uh, all that stuff. I mean, I guess you could show the versus page.
Yeah. So, like Ivan was saying, this is the imagine you come to MetaZone and you see a list of games, right? One of them is Ethermon, another one is Corona Zombies, and then hopefully there will be other developers and teams who come in and make their own game, which consists of several assets, right? In Ethermon's case, we have the asset of the garden bed, and then eventually the egg nest, which should be, I don't know, maybe like a week or two away from launching.
Yeah.
But and then there's going to be additional more assets beyond these two for Ethermon. But you create this ecosystem within an ecosystem, right? You create a game within Decentraland like Ethermon, and you raise funds via selling these future intended metas. And so if you apply this concept to outside of Decentraland, there needs to be a place where you collect all the eyeballs, all the players, all the investors in this blockchain gaming space, and all the developers in a single place. And one of the models that we're looking at right now that's already done this in the past is Steam. Steam has done that. If you create just a regular game, you want to put it on Steam because that's where all the eyeballs are.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you can sell your game on your website, but to move eyeballs to your website, it takes a lot of money. And
it's probably one of the most expensive parts of it.
Yeah,
which it's not feasible for many indie developers,
exactly
right?
exactly right.
Yeah.
So we need to do the same thing that Steam did for blockchain games. And right now, all the blockchain games, they all market to come to my website, buy our NFTs, do all this and play this here, and it's all completely fragmented and totally not sustainable. And so we want to create a place where there's a single location for all this content, minting ERC20 tokens, minting
that's
11,
important.
1155 tokens, 721 tokens, all of that done.
ERC20s.
Yeah, all of that done on a single platform for the developer to create their game and and deploy it within MetaZone. So,
and we're even going to experiment with like off-chain assets that eventually get loaded on chain.
There's a lot of technical details with all that because what is keeping us in Ethereum? Like what is it?
Network effect.
Network effect of Ethereum. Now, there's solutions out there like Stake or XDAI who don't necessarily leave that network effect or ecosystem, but you're leveraging a sidechain to minimize those fees, and it eliminates kind of all the friction that we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could opt to do off-chain transactions, and then you can, let's say you're playing Corona Zombies and you find a gun, right? You kill a zombie, it drops a gun, you find it. All off-chain transactions, so no fees. The player can opt to mint that gun as an ERC 721 and speculate, all day on it on OpenSea.
Yeah.
Right, but it's an option for the user.
Mm-hmm.
So we either implement off-chain transactions or we focus on implementing these other solutions, other second layer solutions, which require more dev time, and it's ultimately going to cost more time, and it's going to cost our dev to be focused on one thing when they should be focusing on another.
Mm-hmm. Notice how he said dev.
Yeah.
Because we only have one.
Singular dev.
Yeah, we tend to, like, when we get into these meetings, like all three of us, it's a team of three guys, our vision and our discussions seem to always result in like, you know,
What?
going way beyond the scope of what's actually like feasibly like realistic in the short term. Yeah, but
Yeah, and then
I,
we it's basically it's a meeting about how Oscar should be spending his time, essentially.
yeah, because like there's so much like if we had the superpower of literally just printing what we want to just exist in reality, like
Yeah,
I think it would be something great, but to
yeah.
get there is such a motherfucker, dude. It's such a pain in the ass.
That's a good way to describe it. And
Yeah, like
and and so we're also considering coming out with our own token as a funding tool to help this happen. And
yeah, we're thinking about it.
we're thinking about it. Now, the question is, does it make sense? You know, does it make sense? I mean, especially it doesn't make sense if it's just focused on Decentraland. That's for sure. Two or
Yeah,
three
well,
hundred people market, no, it doesn't
yeah,
make sense. So, our traction within Decentraland is totally meaningless outside of the blockchain space, or in the blockchain space outside of Decentraland.
hmm
So,
yeah. I
so
think of Decentraland as a good like proving ground for this, for the existence of the meta class. I think of it in my mind. I think metas are more valuable than digital land
yeah, I think
because
so too.
the difference between them is, I mean, they're both just, collection of code. That's all they are. They're just digital code pieces. But one is an empty canvas of a coding piece, and the other is an actual like put together content. So whenever you purchase it, you know what you're purchasing. You know the full potential of the content you're purchasing. When you're purchasing a piece of digital land, it's an empty promise, dude. It could turn into nothing,
Yeah,
or it could be something great depending on the content that's deployed onto it.
yeah.
So
I mean,
I I think
always
it's a no-brainer decision if you have the choice to buy a piece of land or to buy a McDonald's.
hell yeah, dude.
I take the McDonald's any day.
Yeah, absolutely.
If all that means I have to do is rent somebody else's land, you know,
Hell yeah, dude.
and I have the McDonald's, like come on, man.
Hell
Like
yeah.
that's a no-brainer decision.
I totally agree. Even though the land is the more scarce
That's true.
aspect to McDonald's, McDonald's is the one that generates the revenue, not the
Yeah.
land.
See, that's yeah. I didn't the scarcity of the land because there's like a set amount of it. That's where the perception of value comes from. Even though like all it takes is like a small tweak in the code to completely
Yeah, and
change that whole equation.
I mean ultimately, I mean, McDonald's is at the level to okay, they're the biggest real estate investor I think on the planet or something like that.
They have to be.
And so they're big enough. McDonald's is big enough to not even consider putting more weight in owning land versus owning or deploying McDonald's.
Mm.
And that they're that big that they can start hoarding pieces of earth for themselves,
Yeah.
right? Most companies cannot do that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
most companies don't have an incentive. Like Apple doesn't really care about how much earth they own, right?
Mm-hmm.
But McDonald's does. Their business is predicated on being accessible and available at any location that you're at.
Yeah. True.
So it makes sense for them. Now, I'm pretty sure we walk into the boardroom of McDonald's, they care about more about their land than they do about the McDonald's themselves. However, McDonald's doesn't exist without the actual store, so they're kind of interlinked. Now, having said that, I 100% agree with your statement about I'd rather have the McDonald's versus the land.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
and it applies in the metaverse too. I mean,
Yes.
it's
So that's
cool.
pretty. Yeah.
It's cool to have all this land, but if you have nothing to put on there, nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's why we're so focused on like building these tools for the developers. So I think I mentioned this one other time in a different podcast, but the way that we look at it is by building Corona Zombies, we're understanding the tools that developers need to have to make building Corona Zombies 2 by another developer somewhere on Earth have them build Corona Zombies 2 much easier, much faster than how we built it, because they have
Yeah,
the tools that we built to make Corona Zombies 2.
I 100% agree. I think that's the only way to really figure that out is you have to actively engage in that building process, and
Eh,
then you have to figure out like, damn, this is missing, that's missing.
Yeah, and
Like,
and
damn, this would be a lot easier if such and such existed. You know what I mean?
yeah, and your analogy, killed it. It was, Corv is sort of like the Valve of Steam.
Well,
Valve was
yeah.
the first party developer for Steam and the first development company to make content for Steam. And look at Steam now. It has all the games that you need to buy. You have to go to Steam and you download the game through Steam.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like an invaluable platform, dude, for any game developer on the PC ecosystem. Think of Decentraland as the PC ecosystem. Decentraland, I guess, in the metaverse as a whole, is like its own gaming ecosystem, distributed gaming ecosystem. So there's got to be something out there to like unite everything, I guess. Like
Yeah.
an easy onboarding platform. Doesn't matter which metaverse you're in. Like the portals are all in one location. So
Yeah,
and
so we need to, I mean, as any developer, the way that they think like we do. We need to really evaluate like where the market is,
uh
and
so
just like all the other investors we spoke to, there's just not enough people in Decentraland to merit any degree of investment of any kind. Like,
yeah.
they don't even know what's happening within Decentraland. That's how irrelevant it is to these people.
Hmm. Yeah, they're over there hearing about all the riches going on in DeFi. I'm sure that's what they're focused
Oh,
on. Like,
absolutely.
oh, how do
Eh,
I get my money on the next DeFi gem?
yeah. And man,
So
it's like that's where the money is. That's where they want to be. And it makes sense.
exactly, it makes sense. Yeah, I don't. When I heard that feedback, when he told me about their decision, like I was super optimistic. I thought for sure, like Will was the realist in this scenario. Usually I'm the negative
Yeah,
one and
yeah.
he's the positive one.
Yeah. I've been
But
around the block a few times, so that's
exactly,
why.
you have a lot more experience than I do, like dealing with these people. So you probably like can get in their head. You know what they're looking for and shit. So, but I thought, like given what we talked about earlier, how their focus, according to their mission statements, is like they're actively looking for projects that are focused on
Yeah.
building metaverse enhancing tools or whatever.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was like, dude, how could they not look at us as like a candidate?
Yeah.
At least to kind of like have that back and forth with them, like to find some type of funding model that makes sense. But like, not even that, dude. Like,
Yeah,
it was pretty
and
clear cut and dry.
so
Like,
it's not as if that they're lying. They are listening to projects. They probably listen to 10 to 30 projects a week, but none of them get funded, right?
yeah, as far as we know.
They're all like ideas. As far as what they tell me, they're all essentially ideas. And we do get good feedback. I mean, they told us that we're thinking about the metaverse way differently than everybody else. We're thinking about building the tools for developers to build more content for the metaverse. Everybody else is just making content, like fund my content. That's
Yeah,
what they're pitching.
yeah. And it's our strong belief, like that's just not sustainable.
No.
That's not what's gonna bring a mania to this space.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's what we all want. That's what we all need in order for like the economy, the economic state to be where it needs to be in order to like sustain like legitimate growth, you know, from a developer perspective. I'm not talking about we need more art galleries with like art displays and shit like that. We've got plenty of that, dude. Like that, if that's your vision of the metaverse, or it's just like a art, like a
Yeah. Just
social hub, well, I mean that's fine.
it's
I mean
already
that's
there. It's 100% already there. There's nothing else to build to support the
yeah,
art community.
yeah. We're pretty much there. We're at peak artdom.
Yeah.
You know, some people might think we're not because like the legitimate like artists from like the traditional art world haven't onboarded yet. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I'm not really sure,
Yeah.
but I still don't think that's going to be what turns this platform into something that could rival like what potentially like a Facebook Horizon could do. You know,
Yeah.
like a legitimate juggernaut of an ecosystem like that. That's our goal. I don't know. That's the potential we see in this thing. That if we didn't see that, we wouldn't be involved. Like straight up,
Yeah,
in my
for
at
sure.
least, yeah,
I mean, we're so the way that we look at Decentraland at the minimum is there's already a prototype that has existed in the past called Second Life,
yeah,
and
true.
they've done $1 billion in like a $1 billion economy over a single year.
I'm gonna
And
turn on my light real quick.
yeah,
Just
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, keep.
And so $1 billion in a single year, and in I think 2018 or 2019, the creator community in that arena generated $65 million off of like a promise system of creators promising not to make more of the content that they make, right? And so understanding that if we have a cryptographic platform where you can't make more content, then we'd figure that we'd at least approach a $65 million kind of arena on a yearly basis, which is more than enough to sustain anybody in any capacity.
I agree.
So
That's a pretty healthy.
so we're tasked as a team, as the three of us, trying to solve for to get that solution, right? You have a bunch of variables, but you know the answer. The answer is Second Life. How do you adjust each variable to yield a Second Life in Decentraland?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to perform a matrices and figure out like test assumptions, test different variables, and see if it yields a Second Life. And it's becoming incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Like it's potential that we're not considering additional variables to equal a Second Life. And you know, one of the variables, for example, is just the amount of people involved in Decentraland is too small.
Mm.
And so, okay, if it is too small, then how do you bring that number up? And so we're like, our idea is let's make content. All right, we have Corv games, we have Corona Zombies, we have Ethermon, and we have other games in development. Is that enough? It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, and one thing that we haven't really talked about that really discourages me and kind of like was the whole catalyst for this impromptu fireside chat is the Agora vote that's happening right now.
Yeah.
To me,
Yes.
this was the most interesting. I wanted to. I mean, we spent a lot of time on our proposal.
Yeah, we did.
Wow,
And
I didn't even realize Oscar finished like expanded the roadmap. So that
yeah.
was cool.
So in our proposal, it includes a roadmap of a larger game that these wearables are going to be, you know, leveraged on.
Yeah, so this is like important to talk about. Like right here, the wearables is like a key component to building this game economy that we want to build. In an ideal universe, we would have the freedom to kind of like create our own 3D wearable shit that we distribute to our game. However, we decide to distribute it, however, we want to monetize our own created content, most likely through game incentivization
Mm-hmm.
mechanics. Like you spend the X amount of time to strengthen X weapon to be able to kill X enemy, which will give you either the necessary crafting components to build one of these set pieces, or we'll drop the set piece itself
Yeah.
at like an RNG percentage. Like you
Yeah.
might kill it one week, you have to wait next week till it resets. You have to keep trying every single week to get this chest piece, this actual exosuit. You know, this is like actual game economics right here. This is the shit that's going to get people coming back regularly.
Yes, I
You
agree.
know, and this is, and in my opinion, this is what's going to create truly valuable wearables that have actual like value
Yeah,
propositions.
not only the individual wearable will have value, but it will have lasting implications within Decentraland in terms of bringing in people who come in and stay in.
Yeah. As opposed to, I won one of these 10 licensees to create a mask. I'm going to create 600 masks of, currently, I think first place is celebrity mask. And I'm not trying to shit on anyone's idea. I'm just making comparisons here. I think the number one proposal right now is the, okay, here we go. Well, that's Dapcraft. So everybody expects Dapcraft to be number one. So we can see Crypto Conference Classics. Let's click on them. Let's see what they're offering.
Yeah, let's check this out. So this is okay. So Crypto Conference Classics, for those listening, is a timeless collection of fashion and accessories made famous during the last 7 years of crypto conferences. So our team has attended 150 conferences since the seminal Bitcoin Foundation in 2013. One of the most entertaining aspects of attending these events is collecting crypto swag and observing what crypto folks are wearing.
Cool. Okay. Perfectly fine. So
this team is, I guess, going to all these conferences and noticing what everybody's wearing.
I mean, these are pretty public images. They didn't like take these snapshots. This is just, they're basically memes. Here we go. You got this dude with basically his dick hanging out, and this girl with like almost nips exposed. Like this is the second highest voted wearable submission currently. So what this tells me, this is what the community wants apparently. If we're left to assume like that this voting system is 100% non-flawed and 100% representative of like the community sentiment as far as like what they demand in these wearables, right? So I mean, what's going to happen whenever they mint 600 of these, I don't know, jock straps and kitten bags and shit?
Yeah.
People will buy them, and then what? Like,
yeah.
What happens to, like I said, the DAU? Like, because this is the root issue. Like, if you genuinely actually care about the long-term sustainability of Decentraland, that should be everybody's number one thing on their mind, I feel like.
Yeah, and it seems like the general consensus is they do not care.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I was getting at. Like, if you scroll down the top 10, you might find one or two game proposals. I mean, I invite anyone on to come onto our podcast and make the argument that like a wearables economy that's, just a bunch of memes and shit like that, like is more
valuable
or productive
productive. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, than what we're proposing. And there's others out there that are proposing the same thing, like Ethermon. Notice they're not on the top 10 either.
Yeah.
Ethermon is also going to incorporate gameplay benefits to their wearables. So this is what I'm saying. The community obviously doesn't value these things.
Yeah, they don't.
So
I think Dapcraft, I mean, all they do is like wearable focused stuff. And so this creation has been around for a little while, and it's a good creation. I mean, it's already built. It exists. They don't have to do anything to it. It's just a matter of minting it.
Yeah, Dapcraft has been preparing for this. This is their business.
Yeah, this is their business.
They're in the business of wearables, so it's to be expected that they're heavily favored. Yeah, it's not favored in this competition. So
yeah,
that's to be expected. But I don't know. I mean, so whoever's watching this, you could either take this discussion as like, oh, we're just a couple of whiny bitches, like just complaining that we didn't make the top 10. Or, I mean, you could take it as we're making legitimate points here. We're trying to raise awareness for like the misalignment in the thinking of the community.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We started with 0 mana, like the most literally 0 mana.
Yeah, 100%.
And we made an application that is for some people very useful. It's generated by itself 2.5 million mana, and most of that 2.5 million mana has gone to creators. The majority of it, like
70% of it.
70% of it.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we're a cartel, right?
Yeah, that's what we've heard so far.
We're the ones manipulating this just because we have this war chest of mana where we can just manipulate the votes here, without even considering the effort that it took to collect this amount of mana. So it's interesting how it's the perspective of everybody is self-serving and not overall. Most people do not care what happens to Decentraland, and we're over here being as transparent as we can, trying to figure out these problems and identify these problems and work on these solutions, because we want to see Decentraland be bigger than Second Life, because it can be.
Yeah, I think so.
But nobody else is thinking like that. Nobody else cares to that degree in like trying to solve for those problems. So should we care? Why do we care? Right? Because I think we care because I think we can contribute. I think that's the reason we care. But nobody else cares. It's not a people are not out to make Decentraland better or improve it, right? At least not yet.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think a lot of people either aren't capable of creating whatever needs to be created to improve, the current Decentraland, or like you said, it's just 100% self-serving, right? Like everybody's just looking out for themselves, which is fine. I'm okay with that. It's just so, I mean, we're kind of about to join the boat in that sense. Like we're pretty much segueing into this is the reality of this voting system,
Yeah. So let's talk about the voting now. So all you need is mana in your wallet to vote. You click cast your vote, and it pops down MetaMask. And I don't know why I can't click on it. I think
you're not signed in.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So you click on cast your vote and you sign in, and then you can vote with X amount of mana, right? Your entire stack in your MetaMask, you can vote with that.
Yeah.
So that's why you see this weight here, 132,000 mana. So it doesn't outline how many votes this is, but at least there's a certain amount of people who collectively voted with 132,000 mana for Dapcraft and 101 for the Crypto Conference Classics. So if if you have a ton of cash, you can go buy $50,000 worth of mana, come in and just, vote any of these 26 projects
28.
28 projects up into first place.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? Most people would agree that it doesn't make any sense to do that.
If you're looking for like a truly community consensus, like, not influenced by whatever, entity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, so what are we gonna say here, Will?
I mean, we can drop the hammer and we could just vote for ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we could.
Yeah.
And there's no.
And I think we're gonna have to do that.
And there's no hesitation in doing that either. And
yeah, we're equal participants.
Yeah,
in this ecosystem, just like anybody else. And it's not like we were some nefarious whales trying to like manipulate things. We've
earned all that mana that that everyone, some people talk about, like we're some cartel, like we've earned it, right? If we're a cartel, those cartel members who have earned millions of dollars selling drugs, they've earned it. They've earned it, right?
Yeah.
It's not as if some whale just gave them millions of dollars, right? They built a business, right? It's illegal, but it's nonetheless, it's earned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're definitely going to support ourselves for a multitude of reasons. One being that, again, we need these wearables as part of our You know,
our game, who is supposed to bring the DAU up, at least, contribute to bringing the DAU up, versus, crypto conference classics,
yeah,
which is
basically
just a meme.
meme fashion. Like, yeah. So I mean, why wouldn't we back up our own beliefs? You know,
Yeah.
it's just it is what it is, man. And this is the voting system. I mean, people might see a problem with it, calling it whale manipulation.
And it is a problem. I don't agree with this voting mechanism. I would rather have a mechanism where the highest contributors within Decentraland get the licenses.
Hmm.
And that could be measured in any dude, slice it however you want it. The contributors should get the licenses if that's how you want to break down fairness.
No, not just fairness, but also productivity.
Yeah, and productivity.
Because not the every single one of these proposals, there's a purpose section on every single one of them, and every single one of them, whether they guise it under like nice, a nice synoptic like mission statement, how we're gonna sell a little bit of it and then we're gonna like give the rest of it away like in cool events and shit like that. But at the end of the day, every one of these submissions is to make money, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the reality, you understand that every single one of these 28 proposals is a funding mechanism. Wouldn't you want that funding to go to some kind of like actual production of something beneficial to the actual, the whole ecosystem?
Yeah, think of it this way. If you were to decide on where the funding goes, I think we've only so we won a game jam 5th place, which was 50,000 mana, and then there was another creator, what's it called, the creator funding, creator grant program, which was I think like $3,000 or $4,000. So think about it. Collectively, let's just call it $5,000 that we've gotten, through these grants, so to speak. Total $5,000. That's not bad, right? That's not bad. But MetaZone has generated over between $100,000 and $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, you can imagine that we took $5,000 and we turned it into $250,000, and we gave 70% of that to creators. How I want to understand from like the community's perspective, what makes sense to fund a bunch of memes or productivity and sustainability? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, we don't know where this man is coming from for this crypto conference classics. It could literally be just somebody who just scored big on flipping sushis in DeFi.
For sure.
Like it's just 100% self-funded from like multiple wallets. Nobody knows. Like, and there's nothing we could do about it because that's how you win in the system.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we're gonna drop the fucking whatever whale hammer we got, dude. I wouldn't even call us whales. We're more like fucking, I don't know, like dolphins. Not even dolphins, dude. We're like tuna. We're like tunas. But I'm pretty sure whatever mana we're going to allocate to ourselves in this wearables initiative is going to probably be enough to override whatever, I guess, negative sentiment the community has towards us. Maybe it's not negative; it's just non-existent. Like I just don't think there's appreciation for game developers in this space. Unfortunately,
which
it's obvious,
which encourages us to not contribute so heavily on our time into Decentraland. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, that is the bottom line. That's what so witnessing this happen is what inspired us to kind of like vent our thoughts.
And then this is interesting, like from a scientific perspective. Like, you put up 28 proposals and you put it up to a vote, and let's see what wins. And so far, this is weird. Like, this would be hard to predict, right? I mean, you could do like a gambling game on You know those brackets for the NCAA
Yeah,
uh,
March Madness.
March Madness? You could do one for who gets the top 10 in a row correctly.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how random this is.
I agree. Dude, fucking, I can't believe Cyber Mike. He was the first one to submit a proposal. Like he was
Yeah,
ready to go, prepared. He already has like actual conceptual wearables already built, and everybody knows his track record. He makes all kinds of amazing 3D models and shit in Decentraland.
yeah,
So I can only imagine what he's thinking right now too. like
yeah,
like what the fuck? Like why have I been investing my time for the last 2-3 years in Decentraland if like this is the result?
yeah.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? That's
Yeah,
what we're
and then
thinking
and
too.
then look at Frankie. Frankie spends
Yeah,
a ton of time like literally inside Decentraland, having conversations with literally everybody in Decentraland, out of Decentraland, and like this guy deserves a license just by his commitment, his work ethic to in Decentraland.
yeah.
Like,
Literally, like you know, like hosting or
yeah, doing all these events for
yeah, all those
Decentraland.
events. Yeah, like
Like, dude,
without him, that none of those would have happened. But
exactly.
that's like I don't know. That would I mean I don't know. It's unfortunate, man. Like, but these are only things that we're aware of, I guess, because like
Yeah,
we know this
maybe.
guy.
Yeah, maybe this crypto conference guy is like killing it in some part of Decentraland that we're not aware of.
Yeah, I don't know. But again, yeah, this is what it is. This is the top 10 currently. It is only like we're like 8 hours in or something. So there's still plenty of time left. This could be totally
Oh
we
yeah,
could be we could be totally premature on our speculation as like this is the outcome,
yeah.
but I don't think so. I think like this is pretty like set in stone.
No, I think from today and tomorrow it's going to be drastically different, in
Oh, you
my
think so?
opinion. Yeah, I think,
Okay.
dude, 400,000 mana is collectively, it's nothing.
Okay. So
I
yeah, maybe
expect.
we're totally
I'm
premature.
expecting at least 300 votes.
300.
Yeah,
I disagree.
you disagree? Okay.
I think like I'm gonna see. Let's make our March Madness predictions, dude.
Okay. All right.
Votes. I'm gonna say 112 votes. That's it.
Damn, dude.
That's it. So we're
That's
like halfway there.
damn. No way, dude. I gotta. I gotta go with. Damn.
Dude, this is governance, man. Voter
Yeah, that's
apathy
true.
is a real thing,
Yeah,
dude.
you're right. As a matter of fact, that's why all these DeFi tokens are coming up, talking about like collecting all the governance aspects of all the projects onto a single project.
See, I don't even
CB
understand
DAO,
how that
CB
would.
DAO. That's what they're doing.
So if that were the case, would it be like okay, if Decentraland was on the CB DAO ecosystem, CB DAO holders would be voting for this?
Correct. Absolutely.
That sounds and
That
what
sounds
they get for
worse.
yeah, that sounds awful, dude.
Yeah.
Who the fuck are they? They don't understand this at all. And then, did they get like rewarded with CB DAOs for voting or what?
I believe so. There's incentives to vote in CB DAO. So yeah, I think that's the case.
That's rough, dude. So yeah, I mean, this is a big experiment. I think we should expect this being like the first actual real like governance attempt. Uh, we should expect this to be a total shit show. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think anyone is going to ever be in agreement in any of the votes, no matter how it's sliced.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
So
because.
that being said, we're gonna lay our tuna dick down pretty soon. You can like it or hate it, but I mean, we're just playing the game like the rest of you. Like
Yeah.
this is we didn't even get to vote on how the voting was going to take place. Like that was before we even arrived on the scene. Like
Yeah, for sure.
apparently the community voted on how votes are supposed to go down, like on the DAO. So
I'm still sticking with my idea on voting is like those who actually deploy content on Decentraland, like actually deploy stuff, not builder stuff either, but SDK custom stuff.
yeah. It should almost
Those
yeah
have the most weight. They're the ones
yeah.
actually contributing to Decentraland, like Frankie and And all these guys are like deploying like open NFT, deploying custom stuff on their land, Metaverse NFT, Clark, all those guys, they're actually contributing to the construction of Decentraland in different degrees, and that's how it should be. That's the way. Yeah, it may appear self-serving, but it's actually serving the overall Decentraland community.
Mhm.
It would seem that those that are deploying content in Decentraland would know a little bit more about what other content needs to be deployed or what should get funding.
Yeah.
I mean, because Decentraland has their own opinion. They're making a game jam that has no bearing on long-term longevity on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, should they, be the ones setting this up like for failure, really? Like, does that make sense that a game jam that could be designed to encourage replayability and sustainability for the developers? Doesn't that make more sense to make a game jam out of that versus, make a game jam that allows them to own all the assets and content and just make it easier for other developers to make games by the creations of others? Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
Agreed.
So it's it's one of those things that there's no you're gonna make somebody unhappy no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But to those of you who watch this again and are actual legitimate, genuine supporters of MetaZone, we're gonna try and get this video up ASAP. So
Yeah.
if you believe in what we're saying and you've been around, you understand our track record, like we're not bullshitting here.
Yeah.
This is literally all we do, pretty much. This is about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and if you
best
disagree,
way to support that.
Yeah, even if you disagree, to let us know in the comments or join the podcast, whatever it is, let us know, and we'd like to hear this feedback.
That too, but also vote.
Yeah, vote. If you don't agree with us, vote for Crypto Conference Classics, or vote another meme project. It doesn't matter. Just vote. I mean,
hey, what happened to the celebrity mask? Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, or vote for them.
Yeah, or
Celebrity
vote for those
masks.
guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see what there's probably not going to be legal implications, but that would be an interesting experiment as well. See Michael Jordan walking around, or Kobe Bryant, or Michael Jackson face mask.
Yeah, I mean, we're already taking their names, right? So
yeah, right. Exactly.
Why not take it to the next level and see like how far we could take it till one of them like sends a cease and desist to Argentina. It's like, yo, just quit your bullshitting, bros. Yeah. Like, where's my money?
Yeah.
I want my $50 million royalty check from your ICO.
Yeah.
For exploiting my name. It's like, shit. Like, we weren't seeing this coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just continue with our mafia ways, and let's see where this takes us.
Yeah. And again, because the general sentiment of our discussion has been slightly negative and like bearish, purely based off of like our collective data points that we've accrued through our time investment. Like, don't think we're like abandoning ship or anything like that. Like, we just came off of like a 5 or 6 hour meeting before we started recording.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
We're doing,
we're like exhausted just talking about this.
Yeah, like all we've been doing is trying to, figure out how to best prioritize what needs to be done.
Yeah.
For sure, to finish the platform in like its most basic sense, meaning for sure NFTs is number one. Because we understand, like, we've been promising that since day one. Without that, this whole thing doesn't make sense. So that is priority number one. But because that's priority number one, that's putting certain things that generate revenue. Potentially
on the back burner. Exactly. Yeah. Which then creates tension in, what should we be focused on? Creating this NFT platform or continuing the funding of this project by focusing on revenue generation activities.
Yeah.
Like, it's causing a strain in the sense of priorities. And I mean, we have these conversations pretty much on a daily basis, and it's not easy to figure this stuff out, especially when, we're talking to investors and they're like, "Oh, Decentraland, yeah, there's nobody there, so why would we invest?"
Yeah. Yeah. See, so that, yeah, all of a sudden our roadmaps change a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And so if things are going to progress at a much slower pace, as
Yeah,
opposed to
maybe
where,
we need to shift gears and go into like first gear and just slowly build things at a much slower pace, and we spend less time in Decentraland but still create content, at least in the smallest of ways, and we just hold through until mana is $1, because we suspect there's many mana holders that are expecting $1 in 2 years from now, right?
yeah,
When Bitcoin's at $100,000 to $200,000, mana's likely going to be at $1.
yeah, I agree.
So we just, I mean, it's, I don't think that we have a choice. Either we stop using Ethereum, we
Mhm.
use Matic or XDAI, or we completely switch blockchains and start, selling stuff in, Link, or I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there is no other choice. So these are the things that we talk about frequently.
Most definitely. I mean, it's just like a root d- issue at hand, meaning like we like to do this and we want to continue to do this, but I mean, we can't do it for free,
Yeah,
type of thing, you know.
yeah,
And like we've tried our hardest to do it, you know, with integrity and like, you know, not sell out. You know, I don't know if I consider like a like I don't know. We're just trying to be just build something that we believe in, but it's harder than we thought it was going to be. I guess I don't know.
yeah.
I'm trying to wrap this up somehow to make it sound like
More
make it
more
sense.
positive, or
That too, yeah.
um,
But just to kind of like wrap up our whole discussion here.
it's hard to wrap this whole thing up, because I mean we could say a lot more, but we're pumping the brakes, just a tiny bit.
Sure. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, and like we've actually kind of like veered away from talking about Decentraland on this podcast, you know, lately. Just because we felt like we overdid it, you know. That's literally all we talked about for like 6 months straight,
Yeah,
which I think was valuable, you know, constantly providing the community updates to everything we were doing, you know.
yeah.
So
And I still think we should do that. It's just, you
well, I guess
know,
that's what we're doing here, right? Like we still have our regular, like weekly, sometimes interviews, or lately we've been kind of like focusing our attention into DeFi, stuff like that.
well, I mean, we're focused on DeFi only because it's interesting, like everything that's going
Yeah,
on. I mean,
yeah, because it's the new hotness, and it's like it's something that you have to tune into, man. It's like it's the current movement,
yeah,
you know.
for sure.
Like you have to be tuned into it because it's just this is how things progress, and you have to keep stay engaged. You can't just like bubble yourself into your own world. You know what I mean? But in this case, yeah, I think we've said enough.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's
We,
let's end it here. So,
yeah,
hopefully, I'm going to get this video out as quickly as possible. And man, because we have other shit to work on. So, um,
totally. Yeah,
yeah.
once again,
So
if
yeah,
you
keep an eye on these weights, on these votes, and please vote for, you know the right choice.
the right choice. You know what? We need to make this like way more controversial, just like Trump and Biden. You know,
Trump.
we need to we need to start personally attacking some of these other projects and stuff. Like I don't know, calling them like sleepy
Sleepy
Josie,
Joe's. Yeah.
sleepy Josie. I
Uh,
don't know. That was the only one I could think of on the spot. I got nothing against Josie though. She's obviously like a very reputable artist, so it makes sense for people to want her to start making wearables. But yeah. Anyways,
okay. Yeah. So let's call it. Thanks you guys. Thank you guys for listening. And man, I guess find us in Discord, all that stuff.
that's right.
Ask us questions, comments on YouTube. Do all that stuff. Let us know what you think. Do you think Decentraland is going in the right direction? Do you agree with this game jam? Do you agree with this voting method? Do you agree with our ideology in terms of making wearables functional in Decentraland? Do we even have a track record? Do we have enough to be talking shit?
Pretty much. Or are we just a couple whiny bitches?
Yeah, or
That
yeah,
should shut the fuck up.
yeah.
And, like,
Should
go
we
away.
just shut the fuck up? Exactly.
Just let us know.
Yeah,
If
just let us
so,
know.
like,
It doesn't
if-
matter. Like we're not gonna hate anybody. Just tell us
Yeah.
the truth, man. We
Yeah. Otherwise, cash me outside.
All
All right, dude.
right,
Let's end it
guys.
there.
Later.
All right, we're out. Peace.
All right, bye.